Good evening and good afternoon in France and in Uruguay. My name is Aurélien Lorange. I am on behalf of the Quarks Foundation hosting this match between two universities, two teams who are starting the competition of the Hague Inter-University Law Debate Tournament. This is the 7th edition, and we have returning universities with new students participating as of now, and it is their very first match during the competition. This is the first match based on a debate topic that they received 7 days ago. They don't know yet which position they will be debating on, so they don't know if they will be in favor or against. We'll see it a bit later, in few minutes actually. So the topic they received is about sports law, about as well, because we are in an Olympic and Paralympic year, about as well the freedom of expression. But first, this is the Catholic University of Lille in France and the University of the Republic in Uruguay who are competing today. So I will give the floor to the protagonists, the actors of this match, the debaters, for them to introduce themselves before we move, of course, to talk about the match itself. So alternatively, I give the floor to the different students to introduce themselves, starting with Ms. Romane Edelin Sidi.
Hello, so I'm Romane. I'm in first year in University of Lille and I'm studying European law.
Thank you very much and welcome. We have as well Miss Maria Gonzalez in Montevideo.
Hello, my name is Maria Victoria Gonzalez. I'm a fourth-year student at University of the Republic Law School. I am really excited to be here today, and I wish my friends, colleagues, the best of luck.
Thank you very much and welcome. We have as well Miss Anaïs Desmonques in Lille. So, yes, we don't hear with your microphone from your computer. Maybe activate the one of the other computer and then you can speak. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Anaïs Desmonques. I'm a first-year student in Catholic University of Lille. I'm a classmate of Romane, and I'm super excited also to be here, and good luck.
Thank you, and welcome. And we have as well Mr. Felipe Guerra in Montevideo. Welcome.
Thank you. I am very happy to be here. I study law as well, and I am really excited about the debate.
Thank you very much. Welcome. And finally, we have Miss Adélie Kalatskaya in Lille.
Yes, thank you. So I am the second year of studying European law, and I'm really excited to do this experience in this competition. So good luck for you too.
Thank you very much. So I want to mention as well that they were supported by two coaches on both sides. On one side, this is Miss Ophélie Omnes and as well Miss Charlotte Pasquier, who are the coach of the team from Lille in France. And we have as well the coach Professor Santiago Teodolos and Professor Bruno Rivero in Montevideo for the University of the Republic in Uruguay. So good luck, of course, to both teams. I want as well to mention that 3 judges will be assessing the match. The 3 judges, they don't know each other, but I can tell you that one is in Australia and 2 are in the Netherlands. Currently, they are not physically in the Netherlands because it is an holiday in the Netherlands, but they will be watching the match during the next 2 days and re-watching the match if necessary to assess the performance of both teams. The topic. 7 days ago, both teams received a topic to prepare, and they had to prepare both positions in favor and against the statement. The statement is: national regulations should supersede international sporting rules when it comes to athletes' political expression. So now we'll proceed to the next phase, which is the allocation of the positions precisely. So we share my screen, and everybody, including in WebEx and as well on YouTube, will be able to see the wheel of the names of the universities with the flags up. So normally you should see a wheel with the name of the universities where there are 2 possible positions for each university to be either in favor or to be against the motion. So we'll click on the center and we'll know which position each university will have for this match. So this is the University of the Republic, who will be defending the position in favor, and will be starting the match with the introduction. It's always the team in favor who starts the match. Of course, it means that the university in France, the Catholic University of Lille, will defend the position against the statement. To clarify, it means that the University of the Republic will defend the position that national regulations should supersede international sporting rules when it comes to athletes' political expression, while the Catholic University of Lille will defend the position that national regulations should not supersede international sporting rules when it comes to athletes' political expression. So now, both teams will have 5 minutes to review their positions, their notes, to defend and to start with the introduction. So in 5 minutes, we start with the introduction by the University of the Republic. You can close your camera and audio if you want.
Thank you very much. This marks the end of your final time for reviewing of your notes and preparation for your opening statements. So I'll be your timekeeper for today's match. When you see a visual cue of yellow card from my video, it means you have 30 seconds left. If you see a red card, it means your time is up. Of course, feel free to comfortably conclude your sentences, but it's not recommended to start new ones. That being on the administrative side. So starting with the position in favor with the debate team representing University of the Republic, you have 4 minutes whenever you're ready.
Well, cordial greetings from Uruguay to all of you who are listening to us. Before I begin, may I confirm that I am audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Well, today we will present to you why national regulations should supersede international sporting rules when it comes to athletes' political expression. Sport is political, and every athlete should have the right to express their political opinions. Freedom of expression is considered a customary international law and is universally recognized as a fundamental human right that transcends both orders and cultures. It is an inherent human right and a fundamental constitutional right, and in some countries, it is also considered to be an important principle of modern democracy. The core of this freedom lies on the right to express ideas, opinions, and information without the fear of recrimination, sanction, suppression, and censorship. This right is protected by numerous international documents, such as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which have been ratified by an overwhelming majority of countries. Knowing that freedom of speech is widely protected by the most important international conventions and that almost every country's national law is aligned with said rights, it would be inaccurate to allow a sporting rule to restrain an athlete's right to express their political opinion. It is also worth bearing in mind that athletes are public agents. They have a role model status and have the power to influence millions and create a positive impact. Some might even argue that they have the obligation to pronounce themselves about certain political controversies because of this status. Aside from that, athletes are constrained by international sports law, such as Rule 50 of the Olympic Charter, enforced by the International Olympic Committee, also known as the IOC. Said rule prohibits any form of demonstration or propaganda in Olympic sites. This restriction has faced criticism as it impedes athletes' rights to express their opinions and advocate for social causes. This rule is very troublesome for various reasons. It lacks definitional clarity, it is ambiguous, and it provides too much discretion to the IOC in determining what constitutes a violation. Rule 50, by prohibiting athletes' free expression in the name of the political neutrality principle, is causing more harm than preventing, as it is inconsistent and arbitrary and only sanctions athlete actions that do not align with the Olympic movement interests. This happens because the rule is vague and can be interpreted in numerous ways. For instance, organizations allow certain political expressions but sanctions athletes that stand against the repression on minority groups. The first example that springs to mind is the IOC's stance on athletes who were against Soviet repression, which obviously has political undertones. But at the same time, the IOC suppressed racial movements for a very long time. This was very clear in the Mexico Olympics that took place in 1968. Where two athletes received career-ending consequences when they made the Black Power salute against racial equality and discrimination. In regards to this situation, we will dive deeper into specific cases that highlight the contradictions and limitations of the political neutrality principle. Besides, my partner will further discuss the significance of international sporting rules, explaining why we do believe that these rules do not hold the same weight as national laws and can potentially undermine the sovereignty of countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For the conclusion in the position against, the debate team of Catholic University of Lille. Whenever you're ready, you have 4 minutes.
The first vision that we have of the athlete political expression is the one in Mexico in 1968, with the athletes' feet held up high. They used the medal ceremony to protest racial inequality and civil rights issues. This event symbolized solidarity with the civil rights movement. Their protests remain a powerful symbol of athletes using their platform to advocate for social justice. Nowadays, we face more protests in sports, like soccer team for BLM kneeling their knee, and like Sarah Kadem, the chess player who took off her veil during the chess tournament and was then excluded from the team. These issues question us. What qualifies as an athlete's political expression? Athletes may choose to use their visibility and influence to address issues such as racial injustice, inequality, human rights, or other social or political concerns. The goal is often to bring attention to important matters and stimulate public discourse. Athlete activism has become increasingly visible and impactful in recent years, highlighting the intersection between sports and social issues. Their freedom of expression is limited because all athletes have not the same rights. The countries don't have the same definition of crimes. So there is a need to have an international law to avoid discrimination, like Article 50 of the Olympic Charts that avoid and forbids any form of manifestation of discrimination, political and religious concerns. There is a need to protect athletes because they represent countries. If it is not in sports ceremony, where athletes can reach such audience and have the same impact. While historically, sporting competitions serve as a soft power to many nations. Today, this soft power has duplicated in many forms. It is not only emanates from the participating nation, but also from their inhabitants, who may sometimes express very difficult political expression. At least political expression is a drift of it. The athlete competes in the name of their country. The definition of what is an international norm is also an important stake. There is a lot of disagreement in doctrines in terms of international norms, and it is a legal value in norms hierarchy. A lot of Protestants consider a large definition of what is international norm. Some Protestants have a definition who is really narrow, or others who is really large. International norms have legal significance in the international legal system. While they may not be codified in normal treaties, these norms are considered binding for states. The Sports Federation already regulates this activity. The international norm in sport is already practiced and worked. It represents the consensus of the countries and do not discriminate certain countries' point of view. It can give a political neutrality and assure some security for athletes. But I am not a doctrine. With my colleagues, what we'll be attempting to do today is to convey you that, of course, international norms have to supersede on political expression for athletes. International legislation should supersede national norms as to ensure sporting neutrality. Sporting neutrality often revolves around the belief that sport should serve as a uniting and apolitical space, promoting fair competition and mutual respect among athletes and fans. Introducing political expression and into sports may polarize audiences and distract from the primary purpose of athletic competition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This marks the end of opening statements. We will now hear the rebuttals, starting with the first rebuttal in the position in favor, debate team of University of Republic. You have 2 minutes.
While the opposing team has made some valid points, we disagree in some aspects, especially since it lacks consideration of a very important matter, such as sovereignty of every country. When analyzing this topic, it becomes clear that the concept of sovereignty plays a key role in the dispute between national laws and international sporting rules, as it indicates the exclusive right to exercise supreme political authority over a geographical region or over a group of people. In this sense, countries that host international sporting events should have complete power over how they regulate political expression. Hence, countries that host the kind of competition usually permit athletes to express political ideas, even when international sporting rules tend to limit these political expressions. One might argue that the modern concept of sovereignty does not refer to absolute power, since it needs to be aligned with international law. While we completely agree with the current concept of sovereignty, this does not imply that national norms cease to be applied when it contradicts international sporting rules. If international sporting rules superseded the national laws of every country, we would be giving sporting rules the status of public international law, and this is undoubtedly a false statement. More so, if international sports are exempt from national regulations, there is no mechanism to hold them accountable for their actions. This would not be the first time national or transnational regulations are applied over international sporting rules. In 1895, the European Court of Justice ruled to apply European transnational laws over the European Union of Football Association regulations in the case of ASPL versus Bosman. The court's decision was made based on the fact that UEFA sporting rules contravene the European Community Treaty, which guarantees European workers freedom of movement. This means that regional law has been and should be applied over international sporting rules when an athlete's basic human right, such as the freedom to express political ideas, is in danger. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now hear the position against. For the first rebuttal, Catholic University of Lille's debate team, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to come back to certain points that you've talked about. Normally, you talked about fundamental rights, expression of minorities, and also about basic human rights and being endangered. But human rights also have limits. Normally here, the freedom of speech, the political expression of it has limits, and especially in the international rulings sphere. International sports rules are designed to ensure a fair playing field for all athletes, regardless of their nationality. Rule 50 of the Olympic Charter, supported by Rules 55 and 57, prohibits and display of political, religious, or racial ideologies. Prioritizing national regulations over these international rules could result in inconsistencies and unfair advantages or disadvantages based on different political climates in each country. For example, imagine a conservative country influenced by religious doctrine, where women athletes are no longer allowed to speak in front of the media. It is important to note that an intergovernmental organization cannot be compared to an international sports body, as freedom of speech has its limits. In certain countries, athletes may face persecution or retaliation for expressing certain political expression. International sports rules act as a safeguard, allowing athletes to speak out without fear of reprisals from their national government in respect of the international ruling that forbids this political aspect. While these rules may seem to restrict fundamental freedoms, they are in place to ensure everyone is aligned with the same agenda, without risking imprisonment. Antonio Di Marco, in his book Athletes' Freedom of Expression and the Relative Political Neutrality of Sport, emphasized the need for these rules. Prioritizing national regulations could expose athletes to greater risks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For the second rebuttal, debate team of University of Republic, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. On the first place, I must thank the opposing team for the arguments they presented. However, we must respectfully disagree. While it is true that the vast majority of sporting organizations seek an idea of neutrality, the concept of political neutrality in sports reveals its own contradictions and limitations. Firstly, while political neutrality might theoretically promote unity and peace, history has shown that diversions from this principle can also promote positive changes in society. For instance, the expulsion of South Africa from international sports due to apartheid policies is an excellent example of how sports boycotts can pressure governments to address systemic injustices. Equally as important have been the multiple instances of political messaging infiltrating the Olympic stage. This is the case of the peace effort made between North and South Korea that took place in the Winter Olympic Games in 2018. Here, the IOC accepted a political statement made by the unification of these two separate countries in one single team. Following this, it is important to add that the IOC is not the only sporting organization that acts in such a way that blurs the line of neutrality. For example, FIFA decided not to take action over Norway's nor Germany's protest when the team's football players wore a shirt reading human rights, in regard to Quara's working conditions before the 2022 World Cup. Besides, even when sport organizations refrain from expressing themselves in a political way, its silence or inaction still counts as a political statement, as passivity in taking a stance represents complicity in injustice, which is not aligned with the most organizations' will in securing universal peace through sports. All of the aforementioned examples indicate why the basic purpose of neutrality in sports through the prohibition of expressing political statements is debunked by the weight of sporting organizations' own actions. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your submission. For your second rebuttal, debate team of Catholic University of Lille, you'll have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you very much. I would like to come back on a few points you raised, which were, by the way, really interesting. First of all, you said there was some limitations to neutrality. Well, I must disagree with you, because when you say that passivity equals complicity with the actions that are being taken, well, this is not really true, because as we can see with the different decisions that were taken according to Rule 50 that says that there cannot be any political stances being made. It's in order for everyone to be equal and to be able to express themselves in a way that they may not face persecutions. Because from the moment you start raising points of view, political points of view, religious points of view, all kind of personal points of view in competition, sport competition, then it places the idea of sports onto another field, which may be discriminatory to the other team, because not everyone thinks the same way. And when your opponent starts saying things that might be contrary to your personal beliefs, this may shock you. In a way, there has always been boycott, and it is well known that sports is a political way of expression in general, and this has never been forbidden by the IOC, because when the IOC says in Rule 50 that you cannot demonstrate in political ways during ceremonies, it does not take into account that the fact that the Olympic Games are taking place in one country or another isn't political, and it's a way of affirming a political opinion. Also, if we take the Pan American Games of 1991, we have seen some problems with the fact that countries were taking stances with the US banning the diffusion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This marks the end of your rebuttals, and you now have 2 minutes each for concluding statements. Starting with the team in favor. University of Republic, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. In conclusion, it has been made clear that national regulations should supersede international sporting rules when it comes to athletes' political expressions. Athletes are moral agents that have the responsibility to stand against injustices and use their influence to promote human rights and create a positive impact. The United Nations Human Rights Council has said that it is essential to use sport as a tool to promote human rights, development, peace, dialogue, and reconciliation. But none of this can be achieved if sports organizations limit athletes' freedom of speech regarding political issues. Even when sporting organizations argue that free speech has to be limited in order to preserve the neutrality in sports, it has been proved that remaining neutral has become impossible, especially when sport bodies decide what political statements are permitted and which ones should be banned based on their own interests. For instance, cases such as the expulsion of South Africa due to apartheid policies by the IOC, and on the other hand, FIFA's passive stance over Norway and Germany's protest when the team's football players were reading human rights regarding Qatar's 2022 World Cup show how two of the world's most important sports associations try to promote through the regulations an unattainable and contradictory idea of neutrality. Therefore, hosting countries should have the power over how they regulate freedom of political expression, since it has been exemplified that most sporting organizations limit said right in an arbitrary way. Lastly, it is an indisputable fact that athletes have the power to inspire, and as a Nobel laureate, Liu Xiaobo wrote, to block freedom of speech is to trample on human rights, to strangle humanity, and to suppress the truth. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In the position against wrapping up today's match, the debate team of Catholic University of Lille, you have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you for what you just said. However, I would like to come back to certain points. And well, we understand that sporting events are politicized, but athletes shouldn't have to advocate for their own beliefs. International sports follow regulations, and it's crucial for fair competitions and athletes' protection. Prioritizing international sports rules over national regulations helps prevent exploitation. National regulations can be influenced by governments and may subject athletes to political pressure. Although it's difficult to criticize corrupt international sports organizations, it's important to acknowledge that governments often deal with more severe situations, as shown in THIULT's study assessing strategies to combat corruption. This study applies to sport and international bodies that establish rules. Embracing international standards safeguards athletes and promotes fairness in sports. The Olympic oath, established in 1920, promotes neutrality by prohibiting corruption, doping, and political expression infringement. Following international rules that prioritize neutrality helps maintain unity, fair play, and prevents alienation of fans. These allow sports events to focus on talent and create an inclusive environment beyond politics. In political expression in sports, transnational challenges, moral defenses, Sema Banazir highlights how international regulations protect athletes from political exploitation. Respecting these rules ensures fair and inclusive competitions that promote unity among nations. Taking a break from politics allows society to experience a non-politicized world. According to The Economist 2023 study about the subject of politics and its relationship with society nowadays, discussing politics is boring and can jeopardize people's trust. Putting too much emphasis on politics reduces their true importance and exposes individuals to harsh realities. Now more than ever, it is crucial to embrace neutrality in order to promote a more unified world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well done to both teams. You can now all relax. You are no longer in the part of today's match, which is evaluated by the judges. Feel free to take a sip of water. And we'll do a short feedback session round where each of you will have an opportunity to reflect a bit on your debate, perhaps on your preparation, as well as on the arguments you have heard from the other side, perhaps, if you would choose to share that. On that note, starting with the debate team of University of Republic, Ms. Gonzalez, how did you find today's match? Is this perhaps a topic you've already encountered during your studies?
No, we never had a chance to study a topic like this, and this was an excellent opportunity to know more about international law. So we were really happy when this topic was given to us, and we had a really great time. Merci, you want to say?
Right. Well then, giving the floor to the debate team of University of Lille, Ms. Dominique, how did you find today's match? Is this perhaps something that you have already seen in your studies?
Well, today's match was delightful. It was really cool to compete with this other school. And well, I've never heard about this topic before in my life. So it was also really interesting to look into international regulations, even though we are in international law students, so we often do it. But in the topic of sports, I've never did it. So yeah, it was really, really interesting to do it.
Thank you for sharing. Mr. Guerra, how did you find today's match? Did you perhaps also hear arguments from the other side that your team also prepared if you were giving their position?
Yes. We also prepared those arguments, but we had a really great time preparing the debate, working on it, and congratulations to our colleagues and to the association as well. Thank you.
Thank you. From Lille, Miss Adeline Silly, how did you find today's match? Did you perhaps encounter from the other side some arguments you also had in your notepad ready for today's match?
Well, it was really a pleasure to do the debate today with the team from Uruguay. Yeah, there was a few arguments, especially the one on South Africa that we had prepared, and it was really interesting to see that they also had it, and well, it was a really nice time.
Thank you very much. And of course, Ms. Khaletskaya, how did you find today's match?
I found it really interesting because we study international law, and but in terms of sports, it's really different, and it was a subject that we didn't even heard. So by searching it and by analyzing and to know what the other party and team will do, it is a two really cool, fun game to do. So really, thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you very much. I hand over the floor to my colleague for the last part of today's session.
Yes, now it is time to do some networking, to do some as well exchange around the culture of your university, your cities, and your country. So, for example, Miss Adeline Silly, could you tell us what maybe the team from Uruguay should know about your university first of all?
Well, for the university, it's a cool university. We have really nice buildings. They look a bit like Hogwarts, if you see from Harry Potter. It's the idea. It's like red bricks because we're in the north of France, and so it's very typical of the region. And it's a big university. We have students from first year up to master, and even people doing research. And we have different types of law degrees. So, for example, us three, we are doing European and international law, but some others are doing other fields of laws. So, yeah, it's very diverse.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gonzalez, could you tell us as well some words of really particular information that we should know about the University of the Republic?
Of course. Well, our university is in Montevideo, which is the capital city of Uruguay. It is the biggest university here, and we have like 5th grades. We are actually on 4th grade, and our other team member is in her 5th grade already. And we are undergraduate students, so we still have a lot to study in the future. But it is a lovely place to study, and we have exchange programs too. So if you ever want to, I don't know, do your graduate program here, it would be really cool, and we would be really happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. Now, Miss Domenc, could you tell us what maybe the students from Uruguay should taste when they come to Lille in terms of food, for example?
Well, in France, we usually eat, I don't know, cheese, for example. So yeah, we have a lot of variety of cheese and all. It's and of course the baguette, the famous baguette. So yeah, cheese with baguette, of course. The famous sandwich jambon beurre. It's actually really sweet delight. So yeah, we have a lot of dishes that I think would please you, like bœuf bourguignon, for example. It's also tasty, and I'm sure you'll like it. So yeah, come to France.
Thank you very much. Same question for Mr. Guerra. What students from Lille should taste when they arrive in Montevideo?
Well, first, that food sounds great, but I think if you ever come to Uruguay, you should definitely try barbecue. Asado, we call it here. It's meat barbecued. It's the best meat ever. Also, leche. You should taste everything. Everything in Uruguay is great. You should definitely come here.
Thank you very much. Now, last question for Ms. Khaletskaya, and I will give the same question as well to the team of Uruguay. So, last question is: have you been in Uruguay? Do you have any friends from Uruguay?
Unfortunately, no, I don't have friends, or I've never been to Uruguay, but I really want to go for just visiting and to know about the weather and how local people are, what activities can we do for just for to know the culture and or your parties, how it looks like. So yes, it's I think it's a really great country, and your city Montevideo is really high in historical treaties, and I think it's really interesting. So yes.
Okay. So, of course, same question on the side of Ms. Gonzalez and Mr. Guerra. Have you been in France? Do you have any French friends? Maybe from the north of France, sorry.
Well, if you want to come to Uruguay, we will be happy to be your tour guides. So that have in mind. But, well, I have never been to France. I think Felipe haven't either, but we will be really happy to go there. We haven't been much abroad. I have been only to Argentina, which is the country beside Uruguay. So it's like one of my goals to go to Europe and especially visit France, because I search your university and search the place you live in, and it's really beautiful. So we would like to go there.
I have never been to France. I was supposed to go, but the COVID pandemic had other plans. But yeah, I went to Spain and Portugal, but France is definitely on my bucket list.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So we encourage, of course, the teams, especially after a match, to connect. So please, I mean, if you want to keep contact between a member of debating teams, please feel free, of course, to look around on LinkedIn and maybe to find the profile of your debaters for this match. Simply because on the long term, it's always useful, of course, to have a future lawyer, for example, in the country, and to ask for advice eventually for a case, for example. So please consider indeed to use this opportunity between French and Uruguayan to indeed keep contact. And of course, it's only the first match of the competition. You will meet other universities and other teams, of course, through the competition. There will be as well a networking moment in April with all the teams. So I have to tell, first of all, of course, congratulations for both teams for this first match. I have to say that it was quite a high level already for the start, and this will continue to improve through the time, of course, with different themes, with different topics. So my colleague and myself, I think we are extremely happy and to see that, yes, we know that it is the second time your university in Uruguay is participating, and it is the fifth time that in France as well Lille is participating. So it's just very promising for the rest of the competition. Maybe the floor to my colleague as well.
I can only add on and confirm what my colleague has already said. It's been a pleasure, both in the past and also this year, to welcome the teams from your institutions. Really head down to your first debate match for this year's edition. It's been a pleasure to observe your arguments, and what a lovely teams on both sides. I can only wish you all the best for the remainder of the competition.
Yes, and of course you will receive the results by email, I mean, with the feedback from the judge, the free judge, around in 3 days I mean, because they still have 2 days, of course, to assess the match. So many thanks, muchas gracias, merci beaucoup to both teams, and of course we keep in touch for the rest of the competition. Merci, thank you, muchas gracias.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
well done.
Well done, bye-bye.